Hey guys, I'm out here messing with the 440 tonight, and the next step is going to be putting the intake manifold on. But first, I'm out here deliberating what to do with all these gaskets and this valley tray. I did a little research. You know, obviously this is going to fit in here and seal off the engine. The intake manifold is going to sit on top, but it comes with all these gaskets. And you're probably wondering, do I need all these gaskets? Why do some people use them? Why do some people not? Why do some people use one? Why are some people using RTV and no gaskets? Obviously, these are available if you need them to put one here and one here. So if you need them, yeah, they're going to go on either side of this valley pan gasket, whatever you want to call it. But what I'm figuring is, since my engine is, you know, basically stock, you know, if anything, it's just a little bit of materials removed from the top of the block, that I don't have room for these. Maybe if your engine's completely stock, maybe you need them. But here's kind of my logic. See if you agree with me here. But if your block has been decked, then you've brought those surfaces down. You've brought this V to be shallower. And when you put that intake on, I think that it's going to fit really tight. It's going to be sitting, you know, higher than it probably would on a stock engine with a taller deck. Imagine if this was raised up a lot, right? Then the intake would sit down low, and you would imagine how the bolt holes would look. So we're going to do a quick trial fit. I'm going to show you my thought process here and why I don't think I can use those gaskets. And I think this method will work out pretty well. I heard a guy talk about it, but I didn't see him do it. So here's my plan. Without this, well, I guess first of all, before I get going on that, let's see with the calipers how much material we have here. All right. So this metal gasket is about 20 thousandths thick, maybe a hair less. I'm not checking it in the bead. I'm getting about 18 thousandths of an inch. So close to 20. If you squeeze it, you can get to 18. Again, I'm not checking it in this sealing bead that's going to get crushed down. Now, if you check your gaskets, each one of these is going to be, let's see here if I can do it on camera, 20 thousandths, okay? So a pair of those obviously is going to be 40. So you basically have 3 layers of 20 thousandths, 60 thousandths of material there between the gaskets and this metal. Or if you just use this, you've got 18 to 20, not counting that little crush bead that runs all the way around the ports and, you know, all through here, of course on the end rails too. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. We are going to literally just toss this on here without a gasket. We're going to check that our holes are all lined up, and we're going to look at how this thing fits. Okay. I'm just quickly eyeballing it, and it looks like it fits excellent. Let me see if I can take this camera off of the stand, come in here and take a better look for you. And I'm probably gonna need a flashlight. Let's see what we got here. Here's one. Okay, now, if you look down in there, straight on, bolt hole there, straight on. It's hard to see there. There's something kind of in the way. Straight on there. You can see this one over here. There's pretty much straight on. Let's jump to the other side. Come around here. All right. Looking down that one. Looks nice. Over here. Good. This one. Hard to see. Sorry, the light's not great here. And where are we? This one. Okay. So I think that all those holes are centered up. Here's how it looks from the front. Okay. It's not torqued down, of course. My corners are not hitting. This is basically the stock setup, other than a little bit of cleanup, like I say, just to make sure that, you know, I didn't have any corrosion or whatnot on the surfaces there of the the top of the engine block. So what I'm going to do here, set the camera back down, and be careful I don't bump it, or sometimes it stops recording. Let's throw a couple bolts in here. All right, so another thing I saw watching a video was the guy recommended washers when you're using aluminum so these don't get galled up. I have some that fit really nice with the bolts. I might get some bigger ones. It looks like maybe a little more surface area would be beneficial. For today, actually these fit pretty nice. Let's stick 2 in, get them started by hand here. I bought this intake used. It was painted. I painted my bolts to pretty much match. So we don't mar them up, I guess I'll put a little rag over them here. Okay. Snug that one up. Now, there's different torque specs, and we'll get into this later, putting the intake on for the final time, but I think the Mopar book says 40 foot-pounds, but with aluminum, I've heard 25 is adequate and don't go over 30. You don't want to stress it too much. The original iron ones can take a lot more. Okay, so those are snug down. We could get a torque wrench and put them at 25, but I think just to serve the purpose, we know that this thing is tight now up against this face. Okay, this head, it's snug down, and this side over here has pulled away just a hair. So you can see, I can take a feeler gauge here, okay, and just barely get it in. Okay, that's a 7 thousandths. Let's try 8. 8 will go. Okay, let's kick it up. Let's go to 10 thousandths. That's getting a little tight. This feeler gauge is probably time for some new ones. They're getting some corrosion on them. Here's an 11. 11 won't go. All right, so it's 9 or 10 depending. You can see there is a little gap there. I don't know if that camera's great, but I guess you can tell. So my point though is that we do not have room for really anything more than that metal gasket. We can get our 18 thousandths in there. We can tighten everything down. But anything more, and I think it's going to effectively raise this thing up to the point where the bolt holes aren't centered. I think what I'm going to do then is, even on a stock setup here without a milled deck block, I'm going to just go ahead and use that tray, wherever I put it, by itself, with some RTV, of course, on the ends. I may go around the ports. I got to think about that. I'll buy some special RTV that's fuel resistant. You don't want fuel, you know, from your carburetor moving down the tunnel of the intake and dissolving RTV by those ports and having it get down in your engine. So if you're going to RTV it, make sure you've got good stuff, not just, I guess, oil resistant, but I'm going to be looking for fuel resistant as well. Okay, well, that's my thought process. We'll come back later and do the install, because actually I don't have that RTV yet. I've got these, you know, end plates painted up orange. I'll probably just leave the valley tray silver, kind of go with the, you know, all the aluminum I got going on the top here. What else? You know, I do have a camera here, so we're going to play around with this a little bit and verify with the gasket and everything that we've got everything, you know, lined up as best we can with the ports. This thing's kind of, you know, interesting because it's a dual plane intake and it's hard to see down in there. You can't see great, but we can just move this over here. But that camera's, it's pretty nice actually. I mean, looking at, you know, every single port is a little bit difficult, but you can snake it down there. Boy, you can see how rough the intake manifold is there on its sides. You know, of course, the camera's really close, so it's kind of amplifying it. But yeah, I've heard of people extrude honing and, you know, trying to change their intake manifold inner surfaces. I couldn't get in there and clean that up. See, now I'm having trouble even seeing the port. Okay, well, this is what I was talking about, is this is kind of a hokey thing. Okay, there we go, getting close. Which way does it need to go? Intuitively, I want to bend this thing in my hand, but it's the other end in there I got to look at. Okay, well, if you mess around with it enough, you can see down the runners, and you can see if you have any mismatch, you know, any steps in the walls or whatever. And you can snake this thing around in a bunch of different ports and check it out. We're going to play around with that a little bit later. But for now, I think that's a wrap. Come back in another video and actually install it with the RTV and the end plates and everything. All right, catch you guys later. Something to think about.